As the new Global Development Agenda is taking shape, the question of what it will require to become a reality receives growing attention. In this video, we will address three core questions. Why does the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development represent a key component of the new post-2015 development agenda? What are the main processes defining the modalities of the revised Global Partnership and means of implementation for the post-2015 agenda and SDGs? And what are the foundations of the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development? Why does the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development represent a key component of the new post-2015 development agenda? The scope and ambition of the transformation required to make the post-2015 agenda and the 17 SDGs a reality call for a revitalized global partnership involving a full range of actors, from UN member states to business, civil society, and citizens at large. First, sustainable development goals are collective goals in areas that cover a combination of national and cross-border challenges. They cannot be achieved by states acting disjointly. In addition to agreeing on a set of goals, all UN member states need to go beyond the old North-South divide and take on joint commitments in a number of critical areas. They have a crucial role to play, as they will be the ones taking on primary responsibility for the implementation of the SDGs, acting both individually and collectively. Individually, to ensure national implementation, and collectively, to share their responsibility for providing support to developing countries, especially those most in need, ensuring an enabling international environment, and preparing a collective response to global challenges. This agenda, however, cannot be implemented by governments alone. The engagement with other stakeholders, from business to CSOs and citizens, will be critical to ensure they are included in the sustainable development process as important partners. Now let's look at the main processes defining the modalities of the revitalized global partnership and means of implementation for the post-2015 agenda. Two complementary processes cover various related aspects of the new sustainable development agenda, including the means of implementation and the global partnership for the post-2015 agenda, the post-2015 negotiations, and the financing for development process. The post-2015 negotiations were preparing the ground for a Heads of State Summit in New York on the 25th to the 27th of September 2015. The objective of the summit is to adopt the post-2015 agenda and the proposed 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The first 16 goals define the expected substantive outcomes in different areas of sustainable development across social, economic, and environmental dimensions, and the key issues of peaceful societies and effective institutions. Each of these 16 goals includes two types of targets, the outcome type and the so-called means of implementation type of targets. The last goal, Goal 17, is fully dedicated to the means of implementation and revitalized global partnership for sustainable development. The second related negotiation track, the financing for development process, has a milestone event planned from the 13th to the 16th of July 2015 in Addis Ababa, the third Financing for Development Conference. The outcome of the conference is expected to support the implementation of the UN Development Agenda. The process focuses specifically on the sources of funds for the new agenda and on how the global partnership can contribute to the implementation of sustainable development. The Financing for Development Conference is led by high-level political representatives of UN member states, including heads of state and government, ministers of finance, foreign affairs, and development cooperation. Both the post-2015 and Financing for Development processes are led by UN member states, and both involve other stakeholders, including international organizations, civil society, and business. Given the shared ambition of these two processes, they are showing a trend to a substantive convergence reflecting the holistic nature of the post-2015 agenda. Many of the key messages on the global partnership to be exchanged in Addis Ababa and New York are not new. However, a reinvigorated and coherent approach is required to finally turn these messages into a reality. So, where do these key messages on the global partnership come from? What are the foundations of the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development? Several negotiation streams have been contributing to the shaping of the content of what now becomes known as the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. Firstly, the Monterrey or the Financing for Development process. The Monterrey process is a key UN fora working towards a comprehensive agreement between developed and developing countries in several areas, including domestic and international resource mobilization, international trade, debt, and systemic issues related to the coherence and consistency of the international monetary, financial, and trading systems. Launched in 1997, the process culminated in the Monterrey Consensus in 2002, followed by the Doha Declaration in 2008, and now the third Financing for Development Conference in Addis Ababa in July 2015. The significance of the Financing for Development process is twofold. It has injected a sense of urgency into intergovernmental dialogue regarding the need to boost international development cooperation and promote a more transparent, representative, and coherent global economic governance. Inclusiveness has become another important feature of the Monterrey process that, from its outset, aimed to bring together UN member states, international financial institutions, as well as business and civil society to discuss issues that were previously handled separately in different fora outside of the United States. Earth Summit, held in 1992, launched another stream of commitments, primarily on financial support and access to and transfer of technology, as well as other areas critical to the implementation of sustainable development, grouped in Agenda 21 under the category Means of Implementation. The Rio Declaration of 1992 has also introduced the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities for the implementation of sustainable development. In practice, this implied that developed countries that contributed more to global environmental degradation and commanded greater resources committed to providing financial support and access to technology to developing countries, particularly those most in need, as part of the implementation of sustainable development. As a result of the convergence of the post-MDGs and sustainable development tracks, the discussions on the Global Partnership for Development became the discussions on the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development, and the concept of the means of implementation was integrated into the post-20. Two other processes are worth mentioning, as one cannot talk about the Global Partnership without mentioning the two streams that have been examining specifically the issue of effectiveness of development cooperation and aid. One of these streams is taking place outside of the United Nations format. A high-level aid effectiveness fora was launched by the Development Assistance Committee of the OECD as of 2002 in Rome. It led to the adoption of the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness, and later to the creation of the Busan Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation. The UN Development Cooperation Forum, a biannual high-level forum within the United Nations, has been organized by ECOSOC since 2008. It was created further to the 2005 World Summit Outcome Document, with a view to reviewing trends and progress in international development cooperation and to promote greater coherence. The Doha Conference recognized it as a focal point within the UN system for holistic consideration of international development cooperation efforts. So, in short, what areas does the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development cover? Financial resources represent a key area of the Global Partnership. It is increasingly recognized that all types of financial resources will be needed: domestic and international public resources, as well as domestic and international private resources. While ODA will remain important, particularly for countries with special needs, it will not be sufficient. Private financial flows to developing countries now far exceed ODA. An effective domestic public sector will be the linchpin of successful nationally owned development strategies. Technology, science, innovation, as well as capacity building represent another key component of the means of implementation for sustainable development. They have received increased attention in the context of the post-2015 negotiations and the FFD3 preparations. A universal, rules-based, open, non-discriminatory, and equitable multilateral trading system is considered to be one of the prerequisites of a strong global partnership and the environment conducive to the implementation of sustainable development. Despite progress made on the alleviation of debt burden, the challenges of decreasing the vulnerability of countries to debt crises and promoting debt sustainability and prudent public debt management remain. The improvement of global economic governance, including the coherence and consistency of international financial, monetary, and trade systems, and a broadened participation of developing countries in global economic decision-making, represent one of the core elements of the global partnership. Sustainable development will also require enhanced policy coherence at all levels, including local, national, regional, and international. Domestic policies represent a critical factor in ensuring that needed resources can be mobilized and used effectively, contributing to the achievement of the SDGs. National policies and public financial management rooted in the principles of good governance, transparency, accountability, and effectiveness, as well as the need to combat corruption and promote transparent public procurement and participatory budgeting, emerge as some of the key commitments of the revitalized Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. Before concluding the video, let us mention that these key areas are discussed in both the post-2015 and the Financing for Development processes. The post-2015 process, combining the post-MDGs and Rio tracks, proposes a new, holistic sustainable development agenda. Meanwhile, the third Financing for Development conference will place a strong focus on the sources of financing for this new agenda and its set of global goals. The two processes converge on the substance by effectively complementing each other and by laying the foundation for early action by UN member states and other stakeholders to start the ambitious transformation envisioned by the post-2015 agenda.